Ladies and gentlemen, hot off the presses, we have a new paper. I just printed out the 8th draft, I think. But we got her done. And then I just noticed my freaking... We're going gangster today. Only because we had a big old forest fire around the neighborhood. The yard's covered in ash, air filled with smoke. Surprisingly, the best thing you can do is get a bandana, soak it in water. It's better than all those stupid COVID masks, I'll tell you that. And you can rob the gas station if you want. All right, so we're here at Eyes to See, Vision Beyond the Narrative, a weekly show where we examine politics, current events, but from a deeper perspective. And if you haven't followed along with us, we've been on a journey of laying a very solid, well-explored foundation to get to the point, okay, because in general, humans are bad at making good decisions. Humans are super easily persuaded and deceived. And truth, it's almost like there's a battle between a deceptive dark force and a good, clear, clean truth. And everything on that side is designed to poke holes and tear down the truth. I mean, hell, the philosophers came up with postmodernism. They thought they could destroy it. It worked for a lot of, I don't want to say retards, but developmentally disabled people in college, professors mostly. The postmodern fad phase. But we're past that. We're in a world where truth matters. And we need to be able to see it. So in order to see it, you got to have eyes, right? And that's why we call it Eyes to See. All right, we're going to read the paper and then we're going to chit-chat. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments. I got to deal with freaking Facebook again. Yeah, go kick rocks and flip-flops, Facebook. We don't need you. All right, so like I said, welcome in. I'm going to read the paper, and then we'll get on after it. Essay number 9, this is, on episode 18, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That's cool. So I've done half the shows with essays. The title I put as The Age of Reasonable Cowards. This show is called Eyes to See because Jesus understood something modern people continue to resist. That it's possible for people to have eyes and to still not be able to see. To have ears and to still not be able to hear. And to live surrounded and confronted by truth while remaining untouched or unchanged by it. That is not only a spiritual danger, it's a political, moral, and personal danger. Because once a man is finally given enough light to see, he has to decide whether he is willing to live according to what he has seen. I feel like I forgot a paper over there. A man knows the meeting at work is dishonest, but he smiles right through it. He knows his friend is destroying himself, but he offers soft encouragement because truth would make the room awkward. He knows his child needs correction, but he avoids the fight because he wants to be liked for one more evening. Sure, you can have your phone, child. I give up. He knows his marriage is being weakened by neglect, but he calls himself tired because tired sounds more innocent than selfish. He knows the public lie is a lie, but he repeats the approved words because his job, reputation, friendships, and comfort all sit on the other side of obedience. Seeing clearly is not the same as living truthfully. A man can recognize the lie and still cooperate with it. He can judge a thing accurately and still lack the courage to act on the judgment. That may be one of the most common conditions of modern life. People know more than they are willing to obey. They diagnose more than they repair. They criticize more than they correct. They speak fluently about corruption in systems they do not influence, while refusing to confront the smaller corruptions inside the life they do control. Picking up what I'm putting down. So we're pausing the paper. Step outside for a minute. In the category of all people, you could say there's a spectrum of people who see the truth and a spectrum of people who don't see the truth. What we're focusing in on here is people that do see it and don't act, do see it and don't change, do see it and aren't changed by it, because that's where we got to go. We're going to go that direction. Actually, after I'm done reading the paper, I'll tell you the direction we're going. In case you were wondering, a man can spend 3 hours explaining the moral decay of civilization and then lie to his wife about why he did not do what he said he would do. Babe, chill. I'll get to it. He can expose propaganda online and still practice private propaganda at home. He can condemn cowardly politicians and then refuse to make a difficult phone call. He can mock institutions for avoiding responsibility while carefully avoiding the apology that would require him to lose the argument in his own kitchen. Cowardice almost never introduces itself honestly. If it walked in the room wearing its real name, most decent people would be ashamed to shake its hand. So it borrows a better language. It calls itself prudence, nuance, patience, compassion, professionalism, and wisdom. It says, now is not the time. It says, I agree in principle, but we have to be careful. It says, I just do not want to cause division. It says, I am choosing my battles. And somehow every battle requiring personal cost remains unchosen. There is real wisdom in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. But there's also cowardice. A cowardice that steals wisdom's coat and walks around pretending to be mature. Real courage is not recklessness. It's not saying every thought that crawls through your head and calling the damage honesty. It's not cruelty with a clean conscience. It's not a man confusing his temper with principle. Offending people is easy. Fools do it every day. Any angry man can light a match and pretend the fire proves conviction. Courage is not measured by volume. It's measured by cost, discipline, and responsibility. The courageous man is not the one who enjoys confrontation. He is the one willing to bear confrontation when truth, love, or duty requires it. That kind of courage is rare because it forces a man to give up the fantasy of being liked by everyone. Most of us pretend to be independent while living under invisible audiences. What will my friends think? What will my coworkers think? What will the family think? What will the tribe think? What will the respectable people think? The old village had eyes, but at least the village was honest about watching. Modern man carries the village in his pocket, and the village has learned to hiss on command. So he edits himself constantly. He measures truth against its social price and calls the measuring wisdom. Often, it is only fear with good posture. The fear is not imaginary. People do lose jobs. Friendships do fracture. Families do punish honesty. Institutions do retaliate. Churches often protect peace more than truth. Companies protect image far more than integrity. Political groups punish internal dissent more harshly than outside criticism. Telling the truth in a room that has made lying profitable will cost you. Refusing the script while everyone else is reading along will cost you. Confronting a person you love when keeping the peace would be easier will cost you. Saying, "This is wrong," when everyone around you has agreed to call it necessary will cost you. Courage would not be courage if nothing were at stake. Corrupt systems do not survive only because powerful people lie. They survive because ordinary people cooperate. The lie doesn't need everyone to believe it. It only needs enough people to repeat it, excuse it, soften it, or stay quiet when they recognize it. Every dishonest system is held together by 1,000 small acts of surrender. The liar matters, but so does the man who knows the truth and decides that today would be an inconvenient day to mention it. That kind of man is everywhere. He's in government, journalism, education, business, medicine, churches, families, and friends. He's not always malicious. Often he is polite. Often he is thoughtful. Often he can explain the problem better than most. He knows the meeting is theater. He knows the policy is nonsense. He knows the public explanation is not the real reason. He knows the truth is being softened until it no longer cuts. And he still signs. He still nods. Still he votes yes. And still he remains pleasant. He usually has reasons. He has a mortgage. He has a family. He has responsibilities. He has to be realistic. He can't change everything. He does not want to make things worse. He needs to be strategic. Now, some of that may be true. A man should care for his family. He should understand limits. He should not burn down his household to satisfy a moment of moral vanity. But responsibility can become a hiding place. A man can hide behind his family when what he really fears is embarrassment. He can call himself a provider when he is really only providing his conscience with a lawyer. So the question has to become personal. When I refuse to speak, am I being wise or am I protecting comfort? When I avoid the hard conversation, am I showing patience or am I afraid of conflict? When I say something is complicated, am I honoring complexity? Or am I hiding from a clear moral distinction? When I say I'm choosing my battles, have I actually chosen any? Or have I built a life where every battle that matters somehow arrives at the wrong time? A man who refuses those questions will slowly become fluent in his own cowardice. Cowardice also hides behind compassion. Ladies, we are told love means affirmation. Kindness means silence. Mercy means removing consequences. And understanding means never naming evil plainly. Under that logic, the person willing to tell the truth becomes harsh, while the person who leaves someone enslaved to a lie gets to feel gentle. That is sentimental cruelty. It feels soft to the person practicing it, but it leaves the other person abandoned. A father who refuses to correct his child because his correction is uncomfortable is not being compassionate. A friend who watches another friend destroy his life and only offers soothing words is not being loving. A society that refuses to judge destructive behavior because judgment feels impolite is not merciful. It's cowardly and the people it claims to protect will eventually pay a price. Tenderness is not softness. Tenderness tells the truth with love. Softness avoids the truth to keep the room comfortable. Tenderness is strong enough to be hated for the sake of another person's good. Softness needs to be experienced as nice. Tenderness can sit beside a wounded person and still name the wound honestly. But softness keeps changing the subject because reality is too sharp. We have confused these two things so badly that many people now think love requires them to participate in someone else's self-delusion. Love that cannot tell the truth has become emotional management. Public life is now full of emotional management. Institutions do not ask what is true. They ask what can be said without causing trouble. They do not ask what is just. They ask what language will satisfy the necessary groups. They do not ask what will form strong citizens. They ask what will reduce immediate friction. Eventually, cowardice becomes procedural, policy-based. Nobody is responsible because everyone is following the policy. Nobody lied because everyone used the above phrasing. Nobody betrayed the truth because the truth was never formally placed on the agenda. Moral failure becomes administrative oversight. The ordinary citizen learns the lesson. He learns to speak in code. He learns which subjects are unsafe. He learns when to laugh, when to nod, when to pretend not to notice, when to change the subject, and when to lower his voice, and when to make his actual thoughts sound like a harmless joke. He becomes two-faced. The public man is careful, agreeable, and trained. The private man knows more than he says. At first, the division feels practical. Then it becomes habitual. Eventually, it becomes the man's character. A man who spends enough time pretending will find that the mask has started giving orders to the face underneath. Plenty of people now live as private cynics and public servants of the lie. They do not believe the official story, but they comply with it. COVID. They mock the language in private and repeat it in public. They despise cowardly institutions and then imitate themselves in their own lives. They say everyone knows this is fake, as though private recognition absolves public cooperation. It does not. Every time a man bows to what he knows is false, something inside him learns the posture. The soul has muscle memory. Kneel often enough, and standing eventually feels extreme. The answer is not for every man to become a revolutionary. Most revolutions are resentments with flags. The world does not need more men drunk on heroic rebellion. It needs men who can tell the truth where they actually stand. That is less glamorous and more difficult. It's easier to rage against Washington than to apologize to your wife. D.C., that is, D.C. I was born in Washington State, so we don't want to throw any, although there is some pretty bad shade up there. Seattle. It is easier to denounce cultural decay than to turn off the phone and be present with your children. Maybe I should repeat that. It is easier to denounce cultural decay than it is to turn off the phone and be present with your children. It's easier to curse corrupt institutions than it is to stop lying in the small transactions of your own life. It's easier to dream about resisting tyranny than to resist your own appetite before breakfast. Courage becomes real in ordinary places. A man admits he was wrong instead of defending the story. He keeps a promise after it becomes inconvenient. He refuses to laugh at what he knows is cruel. He tells his child no and bears the anger. He tells his friend the truth and risks being misunderstood. He refuses to pass along a claim just because it helps his side. He says, "I do not know," instead of borrowing certainty from the loudest voice in the room. Courage is action under pressure. It's doing what truth requires while your body, reputation, finances, and social instincts argue for something else. Courage has to cost something. Cowardice costs something too. It only sends the bill later, and usually to somebody else. The father avoids correction, the child pays later. The friend avoids confrontation, the addiction deepens. The citizen avoids truth, and the nation grows more corrupt. The leader avoids responsibility, and the institution rots quietly. The husband avoids confession, and the marriage becomes a museum of unspoken things. A society full of reasonable cowards can look stable for a while. The meetings continue, the forms are filed, the speeches are given, the language is managed. Everyone knows what cannot be said, and everyone learns to call that peace. But peace built on avoiding the truth is not peace. It's delayed conflict. Reality is patient, but it's not forgetful. Eventually, the ignored thing returns with more authority than it had when it first asked politely to be noticed. Moral courage belongs to clear sight. A man was not given eyes so he could admire the accuracy of his vision. He was given eyes so he could see to walk. Seeing the cliff matters only if he changes direction. Seeing the lie matters only if he stops serving it. Seeing the disorder matters only if he begins putting something in order. A man does not become free because he can describe the cage. He becomes free when he stops arranging his life around the preferences of the jailer. Or just breaks that rusty cage and run. Let me know if you know that reference. That freedom begins smaller than we want it to. It begins with the next truthful act. The apology, the refusal, the correction, the confession, the question, the boundary, the promise kept, the appetite denied, the conversation no longer postponed, the sentence spoken plainly, "That is not true," or "I was wrong," or "I won't participate in that," or "You're hurting yourself," or "This is not compassion. I should have told the truth sooner." These are small sentences, but they are not weak. They're the sounds a soul makes when it begins to come out from under management. The great temptation is to wait until courage feels safe. But courage that waits until it is safe has usually waited too long. Timing matters. Tone matters. Duty matters. You said duty. A man should not turn courage into an excuse for irresponsibility. But the search for perfect conditions often becomes a respectable form of surrender. The coward says he is waiting for the right time, but what he usually means is that he is waiting for a time when the truth will no longer require a sacrifice. And that time almost never comes. What has cowardice already cost us? What has our silence trained our children to accept? What has our politeness allowed to grow? What lies have become normal because decent people decided not to be difficult? What habits have hardened because correction felt unkind? What institutions have rotted because honest men keep their head down? What parts of our own lives remain disordered because we have called avoidance wisdom for so long that we can barely hear the truth when it knocks. A man who wants to see clearly must eventually become a man who is willing to be seen clearly. He cannot demand truth from the world while asking for diplomatic immunity for his own life. He cannot condemn public cowardice while practicing private evasion. He cannot recover judgment and then refuse courage. If he does, his discernment becomes a hobby. His convictions become decorations, and his life becomes one more small province under the rule of the lie. The coward does not merely fail to defend the truth. He becomes a servant of the lie. He may not love the lie. He may not even believe it. He may privately despise it. But if he obeys it, protects it, repeats it, and arranges his life around it, his private opinion no longer matters as much as he thinks. The lie is not asking for his heart at first. It's asking for compliance. If it can get that, it will take the rest of him in time. A man does not only become false by believing falsehood, he can become false by refusing to live according to what he knows is true. The end. I probably shouldn't do that into the microphone. Oops. Book it. Ship it. Mark her down as complete. No comments. Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate the support. Some of those were a little convicting, weren't they? I may have to pull some of those out in shorts. That's what I'll have to do. There's some good stuff in there. But nobody wants to talk about it, so I'm just going to flip through the pages and try and remember the one public. Shoot, I knew I should have started, highlighted or something. All right, well, what's new with you guys? Ladies and gentlemen, today is the first day, or was it yesterday, of the World Cup bracket finals. And in honor of the World Cup, actually I have a picture. I personally was never really into soccer. I did play 1 year of soccer because the school I went to, forced to go to, did not have football, so I played soccer and called it football. Get it? But then my son, he is now playing soccer. Where would I find it? But I've had a lot of foreign friends. Hi, some of you that are watching, maybe, from South America, from Australia, from New Zealand, from South Africa, from Scotland, and every country in South America. And they all love soccer. And I used to work with them years ago, and we would play soccer in the lobby a lot. I actually went to Argentina and played soccer at a club down there with guys that were 100,000 times better than I could ever be. And I literally just was like, all right, I'm sitting down. It's like getting on the basketball court, just showing up at the YMCA, and you got the dream team on one side and the new dream team on the other. And they're like, hey, you want to play? And you're like, there's literally nothing I can do. That's how I felt. Anyway, I found the picture. Airdrop, computer. See if it pops up. So yours truly is collecting World Cup soccer balls. Actual ones. Not the official ones, but actual ones. And this is my collection. as you can see here on the left, you have the Russian 2018. These are match ball replicas. Those are the ones that are reasonably priced. The actual real, I forget. So if you don't know, every soccer ball for the World Cup is created as a new thing, and it has its own name and obviously its own design. So the Russian was called the Telstar. The Qatar one was called Arila, and I really like that one. The speed shell on it. And the Trionda, actually, I think that Russian one I got was a size 4. I was like, I'm going to collect size 4s. I like size 4s better because they're smaller. But whatever. I think that Russian one's a 4 or it's flat. Both of those are flat. And we got the new Trionda, which is the North American one, which you can see has the Mexican eagle in green, the red Canadian leaf, and the blue stars for the USA. If you didn't know, you better ask somebody, but you can see on all 3 of them, it says Replica de Balón del Partido, match ball replica, replique de Balón de match, French, Spanish, English, and French. Partido. Replica de balón del partido. Participation in the match. Okay, so anyway, I have a collection of those suckers, so I like that. But today I started a new family tradition for eternity to come. Inspired by my Chilean neighbor, Mario. He was telling me the other day, he's like, since the 80s, his family has done a World Cup bracket where they pick the winners before it starts, obviously. And whoever, gets the most points or however they have it set up wins the trophy. Or I don't know if he described any sort of trophy, but they win something. And they maintain that for 4 years because the World Cup is for 4 years. Like Argentina is the defending World Cup champions, and they did that 4 years ago. So this is the inaugural family World Cup bracket. And no, you guys can't play. You have to be in the family. Why? Because we don't want the trophy to go outside the family. You got to be in the circle of trust. And I think we have 6 or 7 people. And we all got our picks in. It was after a few of the games had finished, so there's going to be some interesting. I think we're going to have to. I mean, the upsets, Germany. What the? Paraguay beats Germany in PKs, I think it was. And then who else lost in PKs? Netherlands, Morocco, Paraguay, 4-3. Beats Germany. 2 pretty big upsets, I think. Canada beat South Africa. That's good for Canada, but probably expected. And then Brazil took care of Japan, which I bet you, I haven't watched any of the highlights, but I wonder how well Japan did because they were doing pretty well. Anyway, so I've picked all my stuff, and guess what we're getting for a prize? Let's see if I can pull it up here on the internet. Okay. Hey Jude, that's what it was. Here comes. We're almost there. goodness, I had it. So we're getting a little 100 millimeter replica. Let me see where it is. They give it to me. This one. Wow. Can you give me a bigger picture? Jeez. Oh my goodness. FIFA World Cup. Replica trophy. Stop doing that. 100 millimeters tall. That's 10 centimeters if you didn't know. Why does it keep jumping like that? Motherfucker. Probably making you sick. Oh, that's cool. Keychain. But yeah, so that's the prize. I haven't gotten one yet, but we'll get it and we'll ship it in. And keep you abreast of our World Cup progress. I picked Germany, so I lost that. But I think everyone's going to get all of today's picks for free. You can't change your picks, but some people waited till the end of the day to pick and already knew the scores for some games, obviously, because who's going to pick Paraguay? All right, enough soccer and World Cup. What do we move on to next? Current events, politics. Politics, current events. That's what we talk about here, right? But we have to have eyes to see. So what I like to do is go to Twitter and see what people are bitching about. And then I'll get distracted. Bogdanovich for a minimum? Yeah, we don't need to be talking about the Denver Nuggets, but this is pretty much all my whole thing is Denver Nuggets. What the fuck is that? See, you can get easily distracted on Instagram, Twitter. That's funny. Oh, I love AI videos. A lot of good stuff here, but nothing really worth talking about. Nuggets are declining Jalen Pickett's team option for next season. Aw, poor Jalen. Man, I hate the NBA that they tear teams down. They just get traded, and you got. Just seems. It's probably how they. I didn't want to say that. I don't want to say that. Probably how they treat the women of the NBA. Just pass them around. Not gonna lie. It's probably how it is. But it would be. What if you had rules that said whatever players you draft have to play with you for 4 years minimum, like to say high school. I mean, now they're doing transfers in high school, and they're doing transfers up and down college, the portal. They're basically transferring every other weekend. Summer league already start. Ah, that's funny. It's an old game where they're showing some cheating. Do you know how cheating works? The spread on the game was 8.5 points. The Clippers were winning by 8 points. That means they were not covering the spread. But then they made a free throw to make it 9 points. That means they were covering the spread. And this motherfucker with like 2 seconds left, even though they're down way too much to win, runs full blast the entire court to slam it in the last second to cut the lead to 7 points, which beats the 8.5 point spread. I wonder what his money was on. Gambling is going to ruin sports. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not a teetotaler that says don't do this, don't do that. I'm just saying pay attention, folks. Open your eyes. Don't let gambling ruin sports. I don't care if it ruins your bank account, your child's future. You know, it just means me and mine will have more opportunity. But don't let it fuck up the game. Any more comments? No comments. All right, well, we're just going to do my show. Are you kidding me? No way. American patriot in a Jacksonville Walmart, I assume that's Florida, gets overwhelmed when he hears Islamic chanting blasting through the speakers days before the 4th of July. This is how you push back. Film it, speak up, and complain to management. How is it so hard to realize that cultures can be respected and appreciated? I can respect my neighbor down the street. And sometimes they have a party and they invite us and we go and we party. But I don't want them living in my house. And they don't want me living in their house. Maybe they want to live in my house because it's a bigger, better, nicer house. And theirs is kind of in squalor. But you don't get to do that. Keep your culture, build your society, build your home. Now, if you want to move into my house, you're going to have to do our culture. And that's the problem we're having in America. We got plenty generations of people that came to this country, assimilated to the American way. And for those that less assimilated, there's more trouble. Now we have blatant invasion of people who have no intention or desire to assimilate. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the downfall of this society unless we stop it. And if you don't believe me, just take a gander at Europe. Europe is going to shit. And I'm not saying the people that are coming in, the culture of them is wrong. I'm saying it's not the same. I mean, you have culture in Europe that's been built on thousands of years of a certain culture. And yeah, it's developed over time. But it's night and fucking day different between that and Africa or that and the Middle East. This is the point of our paper here, where we have to say the truth whether it's uncomfortable or not. Like, all people should be respected. All cultures should be appreciated and respected. We should make fun of people because that's fun. Whether it's culturally or racistly, we should absolutely make fun of people. But it's fun. When you literally hate somebody because they're something, the problem is the bleeding heart left looks at people like me saying, hey, we got to assimilate or get the fuck out as hateful. No, it's not hateful. It's truthful. Because the beauty of this society is going to get destroyed, which is what the enemy wants. The enemy isn't the people. The enemy is the fucking devil. He wants to steal, kill, and destroy anything and everything good. Anything and everything that we built. And like I've said before, I have 15 generations born or buried on this dirt. And one of my best friends is the first generation to be born from a different country. And we see the country the same, more or less. You know, America, land of opportunity, freedom, motherfuckers. We got guns, we got liberty, and we have the society and the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. And that's being stolen. It's being undermined. The attempt is to destroy it. But as long as I'm alive and breathing, it will not be destroyed. We've worked too hard, too long for this. 250 years, they say. This, oh, I didn't bring my coin, did I? I went to the post office, and they were selling these little coins. I love coins, as you can tell. I have many coins. That's a Jokic coin. That's a Buffalo silver ounce. There's one my wife got. It says 250 on it. Oh, it just knocked Jamal Murray off. I wonder if that means he's getting traded. God, if he gets traded now, I'm going to be so superstitious. My favorite player on the Nuggets, and everyone's talking shit about getting rid of him. Fuck you. Nuggets, run it back. Just play better. Nuggets, run it back. Just stay fucking healthy. Play to your potential and you will win the championship. It's not that hard. You have the right people. Stop fucking around. Maybe get rid of CB for Peyton. I mean, still, you should be obligated to keep your players. And you should have like salary slots for your players. But each year, your players can jockey around. So say, you know, Jokic is number 1 and Murray's number 2. But Cam Johnson came up strong as number 3. Maybe the next year you get, you know, he becomes the number 2. So then the next year he gets paid like the number 2. And Jamal goes down, but he stays on the team. That's my opinion. You got 18 players. You basically have 3 people at every position, plus a couple extras. That's plenty. You have a first string, second string, third string. And plus the 3s and the 4s are similar. The 1s and 2s are similar. How do we not do this? Wow, because it's become a business. And they want parity in the league. I think you should do it that way, that everyone should be mandatory 15 years before you can go to another team. How about 10? We'll split the difference. So you select a rookie. There's no trade. Well, I guess you can't say no trading because you can fire people. If you just kick them off your team, you're like, no, you're not working out. You're not doing too good. Can another team pick them up? Oh, it's getting complicated. I just wish it was more like high school. Like when you have a band of brothers that grow up from 4 years and battle every year and then they win the state championship, you can't beat that. And that's what Denver did. Michael Porter Jr., I think it was Jokic got drafted, and then Murray got drafted, and then Porter got drafted, and then AG got traded. And then they drafted CB, and those 5 won the championship in 2023. Here's to hoping. Oh, we got one comment. It's probably the Twitch one. The obligatory Twitch. Yep. Fuck you, Twitch. That's not the right thing. That's what we're trying to do. So what else we got to talk about? Politics and current events. Actually, YouTube does a better job of telling me what's going on without getting distracted. Now my YouTube algorithm is mainly full of peptides. Oh my God, that's gross. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Germany extra time goal disallowed. Oh no. I'm going to have to watch that. Probably have to watch the highlights. Breaking news, Golden State, Draymond Green is declining his $27 million player option to become a free agent. Draymond, a free agent. Okay. Dude, I literally don't have anything political on my YouTube. Judges keep blocking the SAVE Act and insisting our elections are fair and free of fraud. Do you believe that? Are you fucking kidding me? Judges, you need to remove your proverbial head from your ass and get the fuck out of the way. Elections are simple. You need a way to keep track of who's allowed to vote, and of them, who voted, and who they voted for. And you need to be able to recount that. That's it. The only way to do it is paper ballots on election day. Minuscule mail-in. It's not that fucking hard. And these... How are they not... I fucking hate that. Like this guy. Now I see why people hate people. Look at this guy. I got a lot of videos to watch, and none of them have to do with politics. Willow Fire, Leadville. Well, that's not our fire. Court says Trump key deported kid. Wow, I literally have nothing. The Justice Department just blew the doors off of America's richest. Huh, that's funny. There's a comment on somebody else's Twitter or whatever that says, young men need to be socialized in such a way that rape is as unthinkable to them as cannibalism. Speaking of these retarded Europeans, or young men that have justified rape in their lives, shouldn't be allowed in your fucking country. Not hard, people. They don't need to be socialized in such a way that rape is unthinkable. If they're coming from a country where rape is promoted. Not only that, but inter-family homosexual rape. Yeah, that's happening in the world. Oh, and many of these people wouldn't think twice about cannibalism. Are you kidding me? We've had many. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, if it makes you feel good, it's right. Or what is it? As long as you're not hurting anybody. Or no, wait. God, I can't remember the beginning part of it. The beginning part of it is a society creates a law Why can't I remember it? My brain's broken. Anyway, the punchline is some cultures love their neighbor and some cultures eat their neighbor. So which one's right? That's not how you build morality. In order to have moral law, it has to supersede humanity. I think we talked about that. The moral law has to be bigger than humans creating it. You can't just concoct it. I mean, look at the laws we make. We can't do the least bit of justice to regular laws, much less the overall arching endowed by their creator laws. But it's not hard if you just actually look at the morality of a moral lawgiver. So you have a moral lawgiver, in this case would be God, and then you would say X, Y, and Z are these laws. And then we as humans would say, I don't want to follow those laws. And then he would say, well, if you don't follow those laws, then you're going to have a shitty society. And people are going to be treated unfairly and unjust because you live in a broken world. So follow the laws that I give you. And they say, no, I want to do it my way. Or you have these false gods that come in and say, that's not actually God. I'm actually God. Do what I say. And you got girls getting raped in Europe in the afternoon. Migrants pickpocketing and stealing and bothering you all day soon. This is already the case. Delusional takes. That's the Twitter account. I like that. 40 grams visceral fat. Tell me, creatine? No. Custer and Pueblo as fire burns, 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 burns. A ring of fire. A ring of fire. Bro. Hovland beat Scheffler in a one-hole playoff. That's cool. Could this putter be better than Lab? Dude, I seriously... Oh, President Trump signs massive executive order slashing...
Well, thank you very much. We have a big ruling that we're just issuing now. It's a...
Executive order slashing car costs for Americans. That sounds good.
I think it's very important. Lower...
Like who with an honest face? Democrat, Republican, or Joe Schmo hole in the wall independent? Who could honestly say that if you evaluate, I mean, I don't understand all you Trump derangement syndrome people. That's a disease and you can't, it's like being infected with rabies. You can't tolerate the orange man. But anybody with a reasonable mind that can take a look at the office of the presidency between Biden and Trump and say, Trump literally goes on talk shows, gives press conferences every day, speaks off the cuff for hours on end. When he does rallies, they're 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. I mean, he's a hard charger. He's getting a lot of shit done. And he's really good at fucking picking people to get shit done and then firing them. Remember The Apprentice? The fuck did Joe Biden ever do? Nothing. The only people that did anything in that administration were these young whippersnapper, bleeding heart staffers. We were literally, our country was being run for 4 years by 21-year-old ultra overeducated white liberal women that were complaining about not having enough diversity at the White House on fucking Easter. So let's bring in some trannies and let them show their boobs. But Joe Biden had nothing to do with anything. In his campaigns, he did nothing. Absolutely nothing. And Trump is doing more than any president I can think of, from what I can tell. And that's what's great about a second term, is that he's like, all right, first term I kind of got pushed around. Second term, fuck you. We're not doing that. And he doesn't mind backtracking. He's like, okay, well, we are going to bomb Iran, but at some point, Israel, you got to just shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, Israel. We're going to stop. We're done. We're done. We want prosperity. How fucking hard is that to see? How hard is that to see, people? Like, it's as simple as make America great again. Make America healthy. I think Robert F. Kennedy's doing some amazing stuff. They did something with the regenerative farmers. That's amazing. Hopefully they're doing something with peptides in the next couple of months. Let's go. Like, put some reasonable common sense. This fucking top administration of the United States has become so infected by overeducated, wealthy, because they work their way up into the tops of these corporations. They get super wealthy, and then they go into governmental positions, non-elected, mind you. They get appointed because they have money and they give money or whatever. Then they go in to these FDA boards and stuff, and then they make the new laws that only allow for their company to. And people are complaining, Trump's making a bunch of money being president, and his kids are making money being president. Bitch, do you know how this fucking government works? That's exactly how it works. And has since World War II, if not before. The upper class, who think they're better than you, don't forget, they're not. They're a bunch of midwits. Midwits. This upper class, they get overly educated. They think that they're a couple of fucking letters after their name because they sucked dick for 4 years in college. They did exactly what the little school told me, that they can go out and run the world. They don't have. I have more common sense in my fucking fingernail. But they work their way up into positions of administration. I'm an administrator at the university. I'm a professor at the university. I am smarter than you. What I believe should be what you believe. But what you believe is bullshit. That's what they do. They look at you and they say that. If any of those motherfuckers had to work a day in their life, they wouldn't survive. They wouldn't survive. But yeah, here they are running institutions, hospitals, colleges, governments, agencies. The goal is to weasel your way up to the top, where when you're at the top, it's like the least amount of work. Physically, mentally, I don't know. Like I told my son, just so you know, the harder you work at something, the harder something is, the less you get paid for it. You don't believe me? Do construction. Do logging. Like, take me, your 45-year-old pretentious little woke ass with your master's degree, and lay tile and see how that goes. You won't survive, but yet you think you're obligated, you're entitled to just pull down 6-figure, 7-figure paychecks from a fucking university that's just sucking the life out of the economy because it's basically taxpayer funded. The honeypot for these elite is tax money. The government pulls all the money out of these corporations and people and whatnot, and they collect it in every which way to Sunday. I mean, we're talking gas tax, road tax, registration tax, sales tax, property tax, income tax, corporate tax, all of it. And you got a bunch of ticks and leeches like, gimme. Let me into the system where I can get a bunch of that money. Well, they've created in the last 20 years, the Democrats have created an entire industry around taxpayer fraud. It's unbelievable. And it was never any sort of secret. I've seen it my entire life. Corrupt. Corruption is literally the middle name of the Democratic Party. I'm not saying the Republicans are much better, but they're a lot different. Most of them are too pansy-ass to do shit about being corrupt. But they ain't going to step up, like our paper said. They're not going to step up and be like, hey, that's fucking wrong, dude. Yeah, sending $6 billion to your NGO that literally does nothing but siphon the money back to the Democratic Party through your campaign funds, that's wrong. We're not doing that anymore. It's not your fucking money. How hard is this? How fucking hard is it? All right, speaking of work, I got to get back to work. And we got no discussion tonight. So tomorrow, join me for the monthly, the end of the month on Faith and Doubt. It should be a doozy. I'll try and be here at 11. If not, I'll reschedule for like 11:30, 11:50. Sometimes I have to do that. And let's hope that fire dies down. Hit it hard tonight, guys. All right, sweet dreams. Bye now.